Hello, and welcome to this Revit tutorial. Today we'll be recreating the King Fahad National Library exterior shading system. It's originally designed by Global Architecture, as you can see on their website here, and it consists of Rhomboid Textile Awnings that provide shading and create this nice undulating facade. It looks really nice at night as well, as you can see here. So the facade consists of a steel structural system that fastens membranes or textiles, which then create the awning. You can see here on the website the structural details of this facade system, and I'll try my best to recreate it visually in Revit as a Revit family. Here you can see the facade from inside the building, and it looks quite nice. Furthermore, I've used something similar in my graduation project, which is right here. So this is a biophilic teaching hospital, and I've adopted a similar system to provide shading for the inpatient units. This is modeled in Revit. As you can see, it looks quite nice from a distance, as well as when viewing them in sections and details. So let's get going and recreate this in Revit. This is the end result that we will be aiming for. So before we get started in modeling this and parameterizing it, first we have to understand the form. So this is a simple sketch that I've created of the front and sides of this unit, the facade unit. So this is the exterior steel structure which fastens the textile, and this is the textile element, which is curvilinear and organic. This is the front view. From the side view, we will be creating curves from which we will form the organic form of the family. Something like this. Now, let's do it in Revit. Now, in Revit, we'll start by creating a new family. And we'll be using the metric curtain panel pattern based. First thing we're going to do is change the units to meters. And then I'm going to select the rhomboid starting plane, the starting grid. And I like to make it 3 by 3 meters, just to be consistent. Now, first we're going to work in layers, and we'll start by creating basically a bunch of points, reference points, that then we'll use to create reference lines, and from these reference lines we'll be creating the organic form. We'll start by selecting the point element and drawing a bunch of points basically. We'll select this plane points. And now, since we've created points on top of these adaptive starting points, we'll offset them, selecting all 4 and offsetting them by 2 meters. as you can see here. I'll create a parameter from this offset and call it width, because this will determine the width of each facade unit, and make it a type parameter. From these points, we'll be creating lines, and I'll be using the spline through points to connect reference points together. Now I'll select these lines that I've created and make them reference lines. I'll create more points hosted within these lines. Here, here, and here. Now I'll select them, and in the normalized curve parameter, I'll write the value 0.9. Then I'll create lines between them. I'll select these lines that I've created and make them reference lines. Right now, I've sort of created the framework on which we will host points, from which we will create reference lines, from which then we will be creating the final organic form. Now, I'll create a point in the middle here, one here, here, and here. Same thing on top from this side, one here, and one here. And then two here, and two here. And two more on top here and here. Now I'll adjust these points to be 0.1 measured from each end. You can see here that it's measured from the beginning, we'll measure it from the end, and then until 0.1. Same with these two. And finally this one. Then I'll create lines between these two, then these two, finally these two. Same with these two on top. And of course, I'll make them reference lines. Great. Now I'll put a point in the middle here, and one here, and one here. Create a point. I'll create a line between these two. Make it a reference line. Now I'll continue by creating two more lines here and here. But first, we need to create points that are hosted on this perpendicular plane. Okay, then here, this one, same on the other side. I'll offset these new points by 0.3. As you can see, it is offset to the outside. I wanted to make it to the inside. So what I'll do is select the host point and rotate it by 180 degrees. And then I'll create a parameter from this offset. Since this determines the curve of this organic shape, we'll call it curve. You can call it whatever you want, of course. Same with these 3 points. I'll apply this new parameter. These are offset in the right direction, but this one is not. So I'll select the host point and rotate it by 180 degrees. Just like that. Now I'll create a line here and a line here and make them reference lines. Great. Now I'll continue by creating, you guessed it, more points. One in the middle. Same with the other lines. And then 2 on each side. Then I'll make these points a quarter of the way. So I'll get from the end and make it 0.25. And with this one, a quarter, and all these other ones. Finally, these ones. Measure them from the end and make it equal. Exactly where we want them to be. Now we're sort of done with the base layer. All that remains is to create the base curve from this side and there as well. Now I'm done with the base layer. I'll be moving to 3D to create the curves that form our textile, and we'll do so by creating points hosted on these lines. Select points and then set plane. Use this horizontal plane. Okay. Same here. And here. Same with this line from the other side. Select a plane. And I need 2 more points hosted on these 2 that we've created earlier. Select the perpendicular plane. Same with this side. And for these 2 on top, I'll be using the parameter we've created earlier, the curve parameter, and this one needs to be rotated by 180. Now I'll offset these points that we've created, these two. I'll offset them by, you can of course parameterize this as you like, but these are the values that I found to produce a desirable outcome. I'll offset these by 0.3. It's in the wrong direction, but we'll rotate them later. Same with these two. I'll offset them by 1. Finally, these two right here, which I'll offset them by 1.5. Now I'll rotate them because they're all in the wrong direction. So I'll select the host points and then rotate it by 180. And now I have points from which I can create a spline. So I'll select 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and use spline through points. Same with the other side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, spline through points. Now, of course, we're going to make them reference lines. Like so. We'll create one curve here. This point, this, and then this. Same with the other side. This point, this one, the top one, and then this. Select these two new curves, make them reference lines as well. So now you can see the framework is shaping up nicely. You just need a couple more inner curves to help mend it and refine it. So I'll be using these 3 lines, and same as before, I'll be hosting points on top of these ones. Select the horizontal plane. Like so. Same with the other 6 points. Of course, you have to press tab to switch between the planes. And now we'll be offsetting these new points. The values will differ slightly. For the first 3, it will be 0.3 as well. It's in the wrong direction, but we'll fix that later. The middle ones will be 1, same as before. And for the final 3 will be 1.7. Now I'll select all the host points and rotate them by 180. And now I'll select each set of points and create a spline. and select these three new splines, make them reference lines. Sweet. We almost have all the curves we need to create our form. Just two more curves needed between this point and this point right here. So it will be on top of this existing curve, like a spline through points on the other side as well. Select these two new curves and of course make them reference lines. And now that we have all the curves that we need to create our form, I'll be selecting them very carefully to create each half of this textile element. So I'll select this one. I'll use tab to select the curved line only, and this third curve and the one in the middle. Then create form. Same with the other side. Like this one, this one, this one, and then the spline in the middle. Select tab, select, create form. There you have it. We have our Rhomboid Textile Awning. Kinda looks like a stingray. It's quite expressive and organic. And now I'll select these two forms and create a material parameter. I'll call it textile. I'll temporarily hide it. And now the easy part is to create the outer structure, steel structure that fastens it. We'll start by selecting this plane right here, creating a small circle of about 150, something like that, 150. So the diameter will be 3 centimeters. Select this plus the plus lines, create form. Same here on top. Select this plane, create a circle, 150. Select it with the reference lines, create the steel structure. Finally, on each one of the starting points, maybe it's better to hide this so you can see. On each of these adaptive points, I'll be selecting this plane and creating a circle about 0.1 for the radius. And with the other 3 points. And from that, we'll be creating our pillars, essentially. I'll select the line from here, select the circle, create form. Create form. Finally, this one. Now, unhide everything. I'll just create a parameter for the steel structural elements. This one here, this one here, and the 4 pillars. Make the material parameter, call it structure, like so. There you have it. This is the Rhomboid Textile Awnings by Gilbert Architecting, parameterized in Revit. Let's test them. Of course, save the family and let's test it in a new model. Create a conceptual mass. Set the units. Create a single line. Set the rock plane as the horizontal one. Create a nice line. Create form. Path 30. Then select this form and click divide surface. Make it a rhomboid. Then I like to use fixed distance. Make it 3. Same here on the U and V grid. So you can get nice even squares. And then we'll load our family. 254. Select our divided surface. Use this new one. Would you look at that? Very expressive and lovely. So I hope you found this tutorial useful. There. Take care.